Universal basic income was always controversial. AI has completely changed the conversation. Welcome back to another episode of Breaking Bots. When we talk about universal basic income, it's been thrown around in the same bucket as flying cars, Mars colonies, autonomous robots, but it's been thrust back into the conversation again of recent times. And there's a very real reason for that. For the first time in modern history, we can see a pathway towards actual AI white-collar work disruption. And that changes absolutely everything, and it puts the conversation of universal basic income back on the table. The original argument for UBI was quite simple, and that was it was a universal basic income, which means that everybody gets that and it's evenly distributed regardless of your situation. Now, proponents for the universal basic income argue that it would reduce extreme poverty. It would actually help with welfare systems. It would encourage people to take risks. It would spark entrepreneurship. These are all very valid arguments. There's been over 120 trials tried just in America alone. But the conversation is shifting, and it's shifting for a very, very good reason. Proponents like Andrew Yang, who made it a big part of his 2020 election cycle when he was going for the president of the United States, brought the topic back into vogue and back into conversation. And it's not something that's new. It's been floating around for 20 years. Why it's come back into the equation and why people are talking about it again is because this is the first time in history that we've seen this pathway, as stated, that actually threatens these white-collar roles. The issue is, who pays for it? Where does the money come from? And that has been the elephant in the room. Also, would people still work if they were to get some sort of income? The argument has always relied on one assumption, and that is that people would continue to work. What happens if AI replaces the roles that are currently being done? Then, or the conversation fundamentally shifts. AI changes the nature of debate. What happens when less human resource is required to produce the same economic output? What happens if you can do the same amount of work with half the workforce, a quarter of the workforce, eventually 1/10 of the workforce? The economic relationship between work and income fundamentally changes. The challenge isn't whether work disappears completely. The challenge is whether people still want to work, whether people still have that purpose, have that need to work if they're getting a basic income. But what happens if the demand for human labor grows slower than the need for support? And those two things can happen at the exact same time. So the demand for output and labor from us could decrease very quickly, but also the rise in support demand is something that provides governments with a very serious question to answer. Historically, technology has spawned new industries very quickly. So as quickly as the internet popped up, it spawned a number of roles that we had never had before, that we didn't see existing prior to that. The question that nobody knows how to answer is, will AI do the same thing? Will AI produce roles that require output, or will it just eradicate a lot of roles very quickly? That is why this debate on the UBI has become relevant again. The first impact may not actually be unemployment. Everybody assumes that AI being taken up by everybody means that we're going to see unemployment en masse. I don't think that's the right way to look at things. What we're going to see is, and we're already starting to see, is fewer internships, fewer graduate positions, fewer of the lower level positions, and hiring has definitely decreased. The issue is, if you can actually replace or automate a lot of these roles, they won't show up the same way on unemployment figures because the roles will never exist in the first place. So therefore, you're not dealing directly with a traditional unemployment problem, you're dealing with problems that are happening right before our eyes, before the government realizes that it's a major problem. The strongest argument against UBI isn't cost, it's purpose. So what purpose do people have if they don't have to work anymore and they don't have to contribute anymore? Work for people is much more than a standard paycheck. It gives you structure, social standing, it gives you status, it gives you relationships with workers. There's a lot of stuff that comes with having a role, having a job to do. So it's all well and good to say people don't have to do anything anymore, but that's a construct of society that is required to keep things moving in the current direction. So what you'd potentially see, and we saw this through COVID, is an increase in anxiety, depression. When people feel as though they can't provide economic value or they don't have a purpose, it starts to affect the way they think, their value, their self-worth. And this becomes a massive issue. A society where millions of people no longer feel economically appreciated and valuable causes a lot of problems. AI amplifies productivity, but it will also amplify the associated problems that come along with it. The funding issue that nobody's actually solved. So the real elephant in the room is, how do we pay for this? Who's going to pay for it? Governments rely on people, workers, people on consumption, on spending, on tax to pay for these programs. So what happens if that goes away? What happens if you propose a wealth tax and all the billionaires just move to Switzerland and say, I'm not paying this? So who pays for it? Where does the money come from? The relationship has always been the businesses rely on customers, customers rely on income, governments rely on taxing that income, and banks rely on that income to extend lines of credit. The government faces a paradox. If less people are paying tax and more people are requiring support and demand for assistance, they have a very difficult situation to face and a difficult issue to resolve. The solution provided by many technologists include taxing the AI wealth that's created through robot taxes, through AI sovereign funds, through sharing of profits, data, dividends, all sorts of different angles that they've looked at. And the interesting or encouraging thing that's come out of these conversations is it's the AI leaders themselves who are saying, you should tax us. There is going to be such a large concentration of wealth created by this AI movement and by these AI companies. They're the ones suggesting maybe we should be taxed. Maybe there's a way that we can help. Maybe we can run pilots or give away money as some form of universal basic income to people in the areas that we frequent and operate in. The issue is history has taught us that whenever you do have concentrated wealth, it brings about a lot of problems. But here's an opportunity that nobody really talks about. So it's all based on fear. And most of the conversations around UBI at the moment are on this AI created fear. What happens if AI creates a situation where healthcare becomes free, education becomes almost free, services, goods, energy becomes cheaper, and services become dramatically more accessible? This is what Elon Musk's talked about, and that's more sort of, instead of a universal basic income, he talks about a universal high income. This becomes more a matter of how do you distribute this new abundance? This is a completely different problem, and it's arguably a lot better problem than what previous generations have faced. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure that you've turned your notifications on to get the latest videos that come to hand. And if you'd like to see a topic in relation to AI that impacts the way we live, markets, or finance, please let me know in the comments below. See you next time for another episode of Breaking Bots.